Are vegans healthy? Are vegetarians healthy?
I've been to the Casino Chamber of Commerce. I've been I've been
with the buddies.
Guys, we are dragging our asses into Super Tuesday.
Listen, it's. I am so ready for it to be
Wednesday.
9 p.m.
on Tuesday
tomorrow.
Yeah.
24 hours. 24 more
The
hours.
closer we get to Tuesday, the further away we are.
I feel like when it comes to an election season, like I love everything politics. Well, I'm not gonna say everything, but I love politics and campaigning and the election season. I usually get excited for election season, but the last 30 days of working a campaign
So crushing.
is when the build up and the pressure. Well, the pressure starts to build up. But imagine that pressure building up every day even more. So, being that we are just like 24 hours away from the election officially being over, it's still not close enough.
And I'm gonna work
It
backwards.
still feels like I'm not gonna make it.
Right. And working backwards because there's so much to cover, like leading up to the final day of voting tomorrow. 11 long days of voting. It's like a war.
Yeah.
It's like a war that never ended. And the last thing I saw on Facebook, I think, because I've been off of Facebook for a couple of days, which is like a year for some people. But I'm doing fine, guys. I'm good. Was something about the last candidates forum not being well attended, and the thing is that was a lie. I would like to address this. The same candidates that show up to all the forums showed up to this one. So there was really no difference. And I didn't notice any of the other candidates forums getting put out there as not being well attended. Just this last one. That was
There
peculiar
were a
to
few.
me.
There were a few candidates who didn't show up.
It's funny
And
because
all of them though.
But wait,
It was the same ones. It wasn't like
Well, Blakely wasn't there for one.
right, but he didn't show up to very many of them. There were
he was
several.
at one. He
I
only
was
did
on-
one
He
candidates
did
forum.
one.
The
middle
candidates
one. Right.
forum that took place this past Thursday was the third candidates forum, and I'm not sure. Maybe they meant that the audience wasn't as well attended, but then that would be a lie too
No.
because that was
Ooh.
actually the most well attended
Right.
forum
Candidates forum that
candidates
we
forum we had.
Yeah.
We had some
And
heavy
you know
hitters
too.
in the audience too.
We had some very heavy
We
hitters
had
in the
Margie Ship, Mrs.
Marjorie
Ship.
Ship came,
Marjorie
yeah.
Ship. She was there. We had Councilwoman for District 1, Michelle Chambers. And we had the mayor.
The mayor was there.
And
And also somebody that we didn't know was on the Compton City. I'm not going to do that.
Are we doing that?
Do it.
Are we
No,
doing
we're not.
that?
No, we can't.
We're not?
We can't.
Because we
We're
can
gonna
go.
wait.
We can do it.
We're going to wait.
Okay.
Put that one in our back pocket. That was just an inside joke for us. She gets it, y'all. She gets it. But no, it was just as well attended as any of the other ones. And like I said, Jesus could have attended this forum, and Mike and Charles weren't coming. As a matter of fact, anybody that can tell me the last time they went to a candidates forum, I'll give you $10. How about that?
Please.
Never.
Right.
Actually, no. I heard rumors that he did do one candidates forum, but
Who's he? Mike or Charles?
Mackay.
Oh, Mackay.
But
No,
apparently,
it wasn't.
like he got booed off, or the people like they were just like attacking him so much to where he just like never did another one. But that could be, a phantom urban tale. Who knows?
And we have a lot of those floating around the country.
Yeah.
I have a little bit different take on the attendance. I think that the candidates who didn't show up, whoever didn't show up, shame on them. Maybe in Blakely's case, maybe he had a conflict with God knows what, but
Well, he
You're
lives in
running for- you're
Gardena,
running-
so he might have been,
Maybe
running.
it was
He had a
traffic.
forum.
It
He
could-
probably had a forum for a seat that he's running for in Gardena.
yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I can only hope that he's just as interested in his own city as he is in Compton.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's like sometimes I feel a little bit disappointed because I'm a little bit, we all are, a little bit closer, and you guys are even closer than I am. I'm still looking from the outside. But we're a lot closer to what's going on. We have a daily, maybe an hourly interest in what's happening, what's being said, what the candidates are doing, what they're not doing, et cetera. So when it comes to the forum, I'm thinking there's not going to be any room in the parking lot, and it's going to be standing room only. So in 2 out of the 3 that I attended, I was a little bit disappointed in the turnout of the audience, of the community, because the Compton Unified School District is in disrepair.
Yeah, it's in peril.
And people complain all the time. This is the about their kids not getting services,
You
the
are
results
so
being
right.
terrible, achievement gaps, and then if you want to talk about things like inequality and all this other stuff. So you would think that now you have the opportunity to listen to all those people who have something to say.
Because it's either the
And they don't
person
show
that's
up.
already in office that's
Right.
there, and you can address that individual, or it's the person that will potentially take over that seat, and you want to be able to have a hand in who that is, especially if you are personally having problems with the board. So that's actually an extremely great point to make, John, because also at the candidates forum is where I'm able to see, at least at this past candidates forum, we had every district paired. So we didn't have the whole lineup of all of the candidates. We just had the ones that were running against each other side by side, answering questions from the audience, and that you were literally able to, well, except for in the case of Anthony Perry, Mackay just didn't show up.
He never does.
And neither did Kenneth Clark. So
Right, and they
That's
tried
true.
to make it about the people that were moderating being biased, but it's like, that's not, they don't show up to anything. So
Yeah,
that's-
because-
that wasn't the right argument to try to hang your hat on.
and that's not the right argument to hang your hat on, because who the moderator wasn't even decided until that day.
But if you weren't there, you don't even know who
And
the
if,
moderator was.
exactly.
Right.
So, thank you. Next.
I'm so confused. Yeah,
Now,
like working
having said,
backwards.
it's not fair to say, hey, Compton, come on. There's voter apathy here, and so you get what you deserve. The fact is that it's not just Compton, it's everywhere. It's on the national level, it's on the state level, it's on the,
Very true.
the larger city level.
Very true.
Turnout is poor. Voter education, where you have the opportunity to educate yourself on who thinks what, who says what about what their priorities
I'm
are.
glad that he brought that up.
I'm glad you brought that up,
And
because
then-
I have to say, stick a pin in that for a second, because usually I'm with you.
Yeah, but
But I am so uneducated about so many candidates because I've been insanely busy that I now have to. We do have to give people a little bit more leeway. However, I do believe that means that we as individuals that are in this fight should be charged with coming up with other options for people to get to know candidates like a lot quicker. Like I should be able to go to one place and
Like
maybe
a voter's guide.
a voter's guide to tell me, okay, give me the short and sweet version, because I ain't got time to do my research.
All right, we're gonna do a voter's guide right now. There, you guys want to try it? You want to do it? You
Oh
wanna do
yeah.
it?
Wait. Oh man, I wish they had a sample
We can just go in the
ballot.
line. We can just, well, I mean, as far as the school district, we can go
Oh,
district by district.
okay, yeah,
Who
let's
wants to
do
take
that.
C? Who wants to take D? Who wants to take F?
I want to take F.
Yeah, 'cause
It's
that's
my
your
district.
All right, well, we'll start with F. Working backwards.
Wait, where? I thought I was going last.
You're going.
so you just moved there then.
Right.
So you could be last.
Right.
I just moved to C.
So who is running in District F?
District F, okay, so we have Wilson Mays, which I've never seen or heard of. We have Sandra Moss, who is the incumbent, which means she is the person that is currently in the school board seat, and she's asking for re-election. And then we have Rodney Curry, who is or was a teacher at Dominguez for a really long time, Compton native, Compton kid, raised, went through all our schools. He has a very large following, or a strong support system, at least when it comes to his former students. So for me, that lets me know that, okay, you truly do have a heart for the kids. Sandra Moss, she's the incumbent, but also she is a juvenile deputy probation officer, which I think is awesome. A lot of people at one point had issues like, oh, she's working for the man.
Throwing them kids under the jail.
Right, throwing them in the jail.
That
She's
was what
putting
they were
kids in
saying.
jail. But the thing is, we need people with hearts for the children in those positions. Would you rather have a Sandra Moss who wants to fight for kids, or like some old white man that hates black and brown kids?
Well, who's not even in the race? I mean, let's just take Justin, for example. You want Justin?
Right.
Who's fresh out of school himself.
Well, actually, I was talking about in juvenile probation, like in that position
Oh.
itself. Like, I'm making the point that it's good. It's a good thing that she is in those positions.
Yeah, I
because
think it
if
is.
it's not her, then we have someone else over deciding our kids' fate. So just take that in consideration when you start looking at these. When you're working with the ops, we want more of our people working with the ops. That's
So
how you
who would
change
you
it.
recommend they vote
But
for?
in regard to that, I would have to say, oh wait, did I even talk about Justin Blakely?
Did you?
Did I?
You said he was a student
I did. I said
until
did.
recently.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be frank with you.
Well,
all.
it's not a monologue, though. We can all chime in.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can't stand Justin. Like, I can't stand just like when I think about Justin.
So you're biased.
No, but the thing is, why? Why do I dislike Justin? Because I don't know Justin from a can of paint.
Right.
But what I do know is that, and I know his personal friends of Justin. I've spoken with them, worked with them, and they all Justin lives in Gardena. Justin never lived in Compton, never went to a Compton school.
Went to LA school.
We actually, Julius Franklin, one of our frontliners, went to an address that Justin had and saying he had been living there for however much long, and turns out that the neighbors were like, no, he ain't never been here. So I have a really, really, really big problem with people who are going to come out. You're going to come into the city, well, even if you're already there, but to deceive people. His mail piece that went out said that 25 juveniles get arrested on Compton campuses every day. And then it started off saying he's a Compton native. So, and the thing is, if you lived in Compton, you wouldn't have to lie.
It's enough bad stuff.
It's enough bad stuff going on. If you lived here,
it's rough.
you wouldn't have to make up stories. So another thing is, not even that do you not live here, you have no idea about what's going on. Good, but if you paid attention to at least one of our videos, we could have definitely put you up on game. We could have gave you some facts. But yeah, that's my voters guide. And really, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. When it comes to Sandra Moss or Rodney Curry, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. So I'm not going to say that you should pick one or the other, because in truth, I don't believe. I believe that the school board will be great with either one of them.
Dope. All right. Well, it's your turn. You're doing District D.
District D. Well, the incumbent is Charles Davis. He has served, I believe it's 2 terms. His claim to fame is that he has been a public servant for going on 40 years. He was city clerk for the city of Compton for 30 of those years, and then most recently serving on the board of trustees. There has been a lot of discussion surrounding some of the things that have happened in his past with regard to lawsuits involving all kinds of things, but most specifically sexual harassment. And, that I will let speak for itself. I'm not going to...
Bootycall.com.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. I prefer to talk about his record and to talk about what he thinks is important and his claims to fame as a public servant, especially most recently on the board. So we have him, and then we have Greg Pitts. He is a 20-year teaching veteran, does not teach in the Compton Unified School District. He actually teaches in a different school district, a very successful school district, and has been not only a teacher, he has been a personnel representative type of position within that school district. He has taught high school, I believe. I think it's high school, right? So he comes with a strong teaching and organizational background. His educational credentials are both in teaching and in administration. So, at least on the face of it, he would seem to be reasonably suited for that position. And then there is Roberto Rodriguez Saavedra. And he is also a teacher. Now, he's a teacher in the Compton Unified School District. And he teaches in the special education area. He is, I believe continuing school. Continuation school.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Continuation school. He strikes me as someone who really has his heart in it for the kids to make the Compton Unified School District stronger and better, as does Greg Pitts. The difference I see between the two really is a question of experience. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
I
definitely do.
definitely agree.
That's the only thing, yeah.
Like you said, I don't think you would go horribly wrong by if Roberto was elected to the board seat. But for me, Greg Pitts is much more qualified. I think he's readier for that position to hit the ground running on day one because of his past experience. I think he's really had the time over the years to think through the things that are important in a school district, and he has been a part of making some changes within a school district that help improve the results of students, which is really what they're all supposed to be there
They're a
for.
higher performing district.
Now, getting back to Charles Davis, because he's got endorsements from all kinds of things. You see it on Facebook all the time. I can't tell you specifically what they were, but there's some of these little
Sponsored ads. I've seen.
special interest groups or PACs or whatever they're called. And in conversations that he and I have had back and forth over the past several months, he knows that I don't support him, but I offered to interview him one-on-one so that we can just talk, and I would do it really fairly where I would give him the opportunity.
Well, you're a fair guy, John. You're a lot
I am
fairer
one of
than
those
us.
fair
A little
guys.
fairer than me,
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, okay.
No, really. I mean, I think it makes more sense to come at things from a sort of as much of an objective point of view when you're asking questions and get the feedback. Now, if you don't get the answers, or if they're not direct answers, you can see that there's spin going on. Then it's fair to go on the attack, if you will, and just call him on specifically what do you mean by that. On Facebook, we went back and forth, and his claims to fame were Project Rise and Project Reach, something like that. I forget the exact names.
Well, I think he's reaching with these projects. I
Well,
don't know
he
if
definitely-
anybody has actually risen out of these programs.
He definitely was, and he referred me to his campaign website, which I had looked at very, just generally speaking, and I was not very impressed with it. But when he kept insisting, I went back and looked at Project Reach and Project Rise, and he's got it all on his website. And what I found is over the past 5 years, what Project Reach and Rise are basically tutoring programs where students from Cal State Dominguez will come into the school district and tutor kids that need help. Seems simple. I'm not sure that it's $1.8 million simple, because that's what it's cost over the past 5 years.
Ooh.
It has cost, and it's right on the web, right on his website. He provides the numbers. $1.8 million going to a consultant to manage the program. Now, I get it. There's going to be some expense because
Here we go.
you don't want. No. Listen,
No,
there
but
are definitely some expenses.
$1.8 million
Hang on.
for
You
a
don't-
program
you don't-
that's only been in existence for 5
Right,
years.
well, over that 5-year period, it's been about $1.8 million.
And how many children are they
You need,
servicing each year?
there's, I don't know. I'm not sure. There were 100, I believe, this past year, tutors. And I get it that you have to do a background check because you want to make sure that, everything's on the up and up, since they're going to be tutoring younger kids and so on. So there is always going to be some expense. You probably need somebody to sort of manage the process, so even if a little bit. But I can't see why that can't be done internally within.
But is 1.8 a reasonable number in your opinion?
I would have done it for 1.2 personally, but no.
You know what?
Of course not. Of course
So
it's
bottom
not.
line is, if you want to get scammed some more, go ahead and vote
Right.
Charles
What I'm
Davis
saying
in.
is
Right.
$1.8 million sounds just crazy.
Okay, I thought I was the only one.
So
Yeah,
For a
it's a
second,
lot.
right?
no, it's crazy to give it to an outside consultant when you can take that same money. You can get volunteers.
Right.
Because you have kids at Dominguez who need credits and community time and all the
And
stuff that
extra
they need to
credit and
do.
all that, yeah.
Right? Some of them are majoring in education. This is a prime opportunity for them to get independent study credit and also be a nice guy and volunteer and help these kids for free. Because, by the way, they were
And stack their
they were
resume.
also being paid $15 an hour. Okay, so maybe you have to pay them. But it could have been done on a volunteer basis unless it's against the law, and we'd have to look at that.
And even if you did, I'm struggling to
it's
find what
one
they spent
point-
$1.8 million
And
on.
this is what he considers to be his shining achievement.
Well, there
So-
you have it, people.
Now, I say, you know what? step aside. Thank you for your 40 years of service. We appreciate all you've done. It's
We
time for somebody
appreciate
else.
those 6 lawsuits during your 40 years.
The $1.8
So
million
that's-
We appreciate
dollars.
the court case that ended with the whole election
Right.
getting thrown out by a judge. We appreciate your service.
So, not that I'm anybody relevant, but I endorsed Greg Pitts because of his level of experience, and I think that the guy is ready to hit the ground running.
You
day
are
one.
relevant, John.
You're extremely
I-
relevant.
I said that-
Relevant. You're one of our favorite elders.
I
now
was
that we
just
found out
I
you're
was
an
just
elder.
teeing you up to say that.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, here we are. We're in District C now. Before we go to break, I'll just break down really quickly your options because you really only have one option, but we'll get to that. So you got Micah Ali, longtime incumbent and WWE wrestling personality. You've got Anthony Perry, and you've got Kenneth Clark, a bus driver from Downey. So before that's all I gotta say about Kenneth. Boom, he's done. So well, let's get back to the main course. So with Ali, he's been there since 2012, and the district it was 2013.
I think it's
2007.
Yeah, I think he's
2007.
longer than there.
It's been something
Yeah.
crazy, like 12 or 13 years.
Yeah.
And the district has been in a continual state of decline.
We
lot
hit our
of weird
biggest one in
stuff.
2017. So
The biggest decline in 2017. All the while, the lies, the numbers, the fake PR about how great everything
That's
is
growing.
going. All that's growing, but the numbers are continually going down. But what is growing are your property taxes. Those are going up as well. And we've learned in this last election that it is due directly to Measure S, which Micah Ali, who's in District C, used $8,000 of his own personal campaign funds to endorse. He wanted to pass this $350 million bond very badly. And then when we look into it, we see that it's been 5 years and they're just now getting Compton High empty so that they can start the deconstruction of the school.
Mind you, we're still paying extremely high interest on our bonds.
And they're just taking their time with this school rollout, which I like. They're building out onto an earthquake fault line.
Yeah.
They're building onto an earthquake fault line.
Which triples the price to my understanding.
Yeah, they're throwing people out of their homes in the process because there's been several apartment buildings that have been bought and several duplexes that have been bought. People have been relocated. So it's a mess.
And don't forget, like, he's also taking money from charter schools.
Oh yeah,
Are you gonna get come on,
that's the
your
backdoor
thing.
thing. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
backdoor thing. He took some campaign money and let a couple of it's pay to play with the charter schools of Micah. He's let a couple of them sleep through the cracks. One in particular that ended up, in court because what they were doing at that school was ridiculous. I think it's not even funny. It's but it's so unbelievable that this is actually happening. The worst case was when they put a 6-year-old in a kindergarten classroom because they didn't have room in that child's grade. And the parents weren't even made aware. They just were doing whatever at today's Fresh Start charter school. So, his record is horrible. Even with bringing Brawley in after he got ousted in Adelanto under parent trigger law, it's like Micah's horrible. And if you vote for him, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what brand of crack you're smoking. But to get to the only obvious choice in District C, for me, would be Anthony Perry. He's a new guy that not a lot of people know, but he lives in Compton with his family and his 3 kids, 2 of whom are in Compton schools. He's a substitute teacher at Compton schools. And like I said, he's new and not a lot of people know him, but I believe he has a heart for the community. I've spoken with him about numerous things that he's been doing in the community, coaching basketball at Gonzales Park is one of the things he's done. And one
Teaching
thing
at
that's
every
really
school.
impressive, teaching at every school, teaching at every grade level. He actually started a parents group because he said that he had started going to PTA meetings and there was a bunch of women. And so he's like, man, where are the guys? So he started a dad's group and he was able to grow that group from him being the first dad to about 35 dads, which is outstanding.
And that's dope.
Yeah, in this school district, that's pretty outstanding.
That's dope.
It's outstanding. So, to me, he's the obvious choice. He's the front runner in my mind. Micah would just be more of the same. And I'm telling you guys, if Micah Ali gets back on that school board, it's a wrap. It's
A lot of people are losing
We're
their
done.
jobs.
We're done. A lot of people are losing their jobs. It could end up back in the hands of the state.
I'd hope so.
But not if they keep the lie campaign going that they have going
Well,
on.
you mean from a student achievement point
But from
of
a
view.
student achievement perspective,
'cause-
it's
Yeah.
horrible. The numbers are abysmal.
Right, because from a fiscal point of view, Compton Unified School District is doing very well. That's why Brawley was chosen as the superintendent of the year. It's because he's done such a fabulous job turning the
Fiscally.
financial problems.
Right, but when kids don't have toilet paper,
I was going to
you're gonna be
say,
able to balance the budget. It's like
yeah,
do they
because
really
the kids
need
are
toilet
going
paper?
without.
Right. Nah.
You need to speak with the superintendent of the year organizing committee for that one. But yeah, you're right. You're
Right.
Right. I mean, on paper, when he came in, the school district was in bad shape financially. They were running a huge deficit. You know, and he's turned it around on paper. That doesn't mean the money is being used more effectively. It doesn't mean that the money is being used to help
Right.
with student achievement and then actually seeing that happen. It's not any of that. It's just that on paper, the numbers, it looks like the Compton Unified School District is solvent.
And I mean, but then at the same time, you have a person, his educational background is like health administration
Oh, yeah, that's
or
Micah.
something like that.
He's
Makai,
never taught a
it's
class
like,
a day in his
who are
life.
you going to have on your school board? Someone that is actually experienced in the education field,
Right.
or someone that I don't even know what his degree is. It's like health admin or health services or
It's something that ain't got nothing to do with educating kids.
It-
I mean,
it
there are
don't.
no educators on that board right now.
There are no,
There's
yeah,
nobody.
that's-
I mean, there's some people who haven't even graduated from high school and college. If you let people in Compton tell it, that are
Right.
sitting on that board right now.
Well, yeah, you're actually correct.
You know, housewives and all
Sadly.
that. I mean, I think that you should at least have some kind of background in education, business, budgeting, something that's going to be of use on that board.
Absolutely.
Right. Agreed.
Well, so we can agree that, I mean, right now, it's very imperative, guys, that you guys get out and vote. Polling places are open until, I think they're closed now. I think it's a little bit past 8.
Oh yeah, they're
But
definitely
they're opening
closed.
tomorrow at 7 a.m.
and they're open till 8.
There's voting on Compton College campus. There's voting at the Neighborhood Community Center on Rosecrans and Oleander. There's voting at Dollar High.
Kelly Park,
The
library.
Rutgers Park.
No excuses, y'all. There's a van rolling around taking people for rides. So if you got to get out and vote, you got to get out and vote.
And
Make
you
it
guys
happen.
Google everything else. You can Google your nearest polling center. And the
Well,
awesome thing about this election is the fact that whether you're at work or anything, if you're in LA County, you can vote at any of the polling centers. So get your vote in. This is extremely important.
What that means is if you're at work and there's a center for voting that's closer to where you work, you can do it there. If you have a mail-in ballot that you haven't mailed in and you have a voting center near where you work, drop it off there because it's got to be in by tomorrow.
Yep, that's what I did today.
Yep.
Skin of my teeth. But I voted. Where's my sticker? Y'all see?
Hey.
All right. So we're going to go to commercial break and we're going to come back with more on this election. Working backwards.
Nope, we're still here.
We're-
I thought it was the countdown.
Nope, we're still here.
Oh, okay. Oh, there. I thought that was the video queued up in the back. Just kidding. And we're back. Okay. Perfect. That's even better. We like it. So our producer just told us that we're wrapping it up. So what are your final thoughts on this election, guys? Has it been crazy?
So honestly, this, and I was actually talking with my uncle earlier today, decompressing with my mentor, and this is my first time being involved with the school board election, and you know, he's never actually been involved in the school board election either, so he couldn't really give me any insight. But things are a lot more difficult, and it's a lot harder to get people engaged when it comes to the school district, which it's completely different atmosphere and environment when it's a city council race. But that's crazy to me because you guys understand what we're dealing with when it comes to the school board. These are people that are over your children.
Right.
Like we have 23,000 students in this city of Compton on this 10 square miles or however many miles it is. 23,000 students. These individuals are pouring into our streets. They're in our grocery stores. They're in our community. So wouldn't we want to make sure that these 23,000 little minds, are educated, that they can get career pathways?
Because you're paying for it, whether they're getting educated or not.
And then a large amount of your property taxes goes into your taxes period go into your schools. You're paying for this quality of education. So you would think that people will be a little mindful, but it's really hard getting them engaged.
I hope the numbers are large.
Question from Barbara Calhoun. Why did they relocate the students from Compton High to other schools?
Oh, so that they could tear down Compton High and rebuild it. But that took 5 years, Mrs. Calhoun, which is a sham in my eyes.
Right.
But yeah.
Eventually, they're going to have to move out all the students.
Yeah.
Because they are going to knock it down.
Yeah, they've just done that. It took 5 years to do it.
But they have high school students on middle school campuses now.
Yep.
Which
And a lot of our middle schools are K through 8th already. Like in our elementary.
yeah, so you got like
so
17-year-olds walking around with 10-year-olds. That's the issue for me. But we did discover that like you guys should really like hopefully or maybe we should pull out some of our highlights. On some of our past videos, and
We've
throw them
dropped
out
a lot
there
of
for you guys
information over the
tomorrow.
months.
Yeah, we've gone through the budget. We've gone through toilet paper, school conditions, the police department, how sexual harassment cases, funneling money out. We
Retaliation
didn't
cases.
even talk about how Makai pays people on social media to to troll or to create journalistic like posts and put out
we saw
false
that
information.
on his 460s. We
But-
saw that on his 460s.
Yeah, we probably should put out some of our highlights tomorrow. Remind you guys.
Of just how bad it's been.
But hopefully, like, who's voting? Are any of our audience members voting already? Have you guys voted? What's going on?
Let's get some feedback from that. But right now we're gonna wrap it up. Stay tuned. Tomorrow's Super Tuesday.
It's
Come get
over!
your Super margarita and some super tacos.
Exactly.
We'll see you guys soon. We have one audience question. That was nice.
Anyway.
And-